everyone. Welcome back to the next episode of the Beach Court Podcast. It's an exciting week here in Northeast Florida because we've got our local regional this weekend in Atlanta. So really excited to kind of this whole episode is just dedicated to breaking it down. Right there was definitely some Champions Leagues this weekend that was in a format that we'll never play. Not going to talk about that. But yeah, we had some really cool local tournaments here in Jacksonville. We had one at Knockham on Saturday, one at Wokey Pokey today on Sunday. So we'll break down what happened, and give our thoughts, and then we'll dive deep into the Atlanta meta, talk about some options and predictions and interactions of cards. And then we'll wrap it up with read the card segment, where we're gonna bring some obscure cards that you might not know, and kind of talk about some interactions they might have and what to expect as you prepare for the Atlanta Regional Championships. My name is Eric Ridgway. Parker Greenwald and Max Corcoran are also here. And we're going to break it all down for you. But boys, first off, how was your weekends playing Pokemon all weekend?
My Saturday was, it was okay. I was like ridiculously tired for the Nakama thing, so I was like, let me just play Archelodon. I've been playing it online without Squawk, but when I played it in real life, I needed Squawk. There's like 5 games where I just did not play the game really, and a couple of those I came back and won somehow. But had I had Squawk, they might have just been a lot better. But I just chose not to play it in the deck. 4 of those 5 games, I had a ball card in hand. But yeah, that was not my best tournament. I went 1-3 and then dropped to go pick up my girlfriend from work, and we went to Springing the Blues after that, so
Yeah,
that
I
was
saw
fun.
that. How was that?
It was really cool, actually. I last time I went, it was nowhere near that big, if I'm remembering right. But there was like so many like vendors and street food and all that. And today, woke
Wait,
up
hold on.
early.
Wait. I have
Oh,
more questions because I want to know more.
oh. My
Where's it
bad.
I want to
located?
know.
Where's it
Oh,
located?
it's in Jack's Beach.
Oh, it's at the beach. Okay.
Yeah, it's at
Atlantic
Jack's
or
Beach.
Jack's Beach?
Jack's Beach. You could
Okay.
like walk onto the sand from the festival.
Right, but is it Atlantic Beach down by like Atlanta Boulevard or Beach Boulevard?
No. It's by Beach Boulevard.
Okay, cool.
It's by like Oceanfront Park, stuff like that.
Max, I'm surprised you've never been to this. Sounds like something right up your wheelhouse.
Yeah, that sounds fun. I'm still just baffled that we've been doing this podcast for like almost 2 years now, and I don't think we've ever spent as much time talking about the beach on the Beach Court podcast as we just have.
What? I need to bust out the surfing pictures, or
I mean, it sounds like we should just go do an episode on the beach one day.
That would be fun.
yeah, I have that picture of Eric as a mermaid or what?
Oh, from Puerto Rico.
I did like a little segment with you, didn't I? Like,
yeah, we have a lost episode on like a voice memo of mine of us just talking about our Puerto Rico runs. Yeah,
that was fun. Anyways, so you did that on Saturday, and then today at Wokey, what happened?
Today I woke up early, walked around St. Augustine. I'm like so exhausted just from the late, busy, hectic Friday, but played Dragapult at Wokey Pokey.
What do you expect?
Sparkling Crystal, which is in there it's kind of a crutch, but at the same time it's a crutch that I need to use because I never find energy. And using Crispin as your supporter late in the game is awful. Unless you're winning the game with it.
Share dog.
Yeah, I might need to put that in, honestly. Play without it, but
you probably need it in this format with Dragapult.
With how often your 320 Dragapult dies, you might need it.
Yeah, well, we're going to talk about later a card that has been included in some Dragapults to, give it a little bit more survivability. So
yeah,
but that's always an option. But definitely like Crystal's a solid choice. But yeah, you still won a lot of games though, right? You did cash.
Yeah. I went 4-1-1. My one loss was about 6 minutes for both games.
I watched it all on stream.
You blink and you miss it, but it did happen round 2. So
did you bubble or was it a clean cut for like 4th?
I bubbled I needed Chris to win because if Chris won, I was in top 4. Because then Sean would have been out. Since Sean was 402, Chris was 411, and then there was another 411 ahead of me.
So
But
was it a clean cut or no? It was a bubble.
no, it was a bubble. It was
Okay.
a bubble. The third, I think 3rd through 6th were 4.
Okay.
But then yeah, I had a tie
Isn't that
against.
crazy, Max? There's so many natural ties today.
I mean, I kind of, again, and for everyone, right? We had like testing tournaments this past weekend at Woki Pokey and at the Nakama, so it was like all best of 3. And a lot of folks that are going to the regionals don't have a lot of like regional practice like the rest of us that here go to regionals all the time. So for them prepping for their first regional, they go and sit down and say, "Oh, 15 minutes is not a very long time, especially when you mix in the Terror boxes and the Dragapult." So I'm not exactly surprised that there's a lot of natural ties.
Yeah.
Just because a lot of the players aren't necessarily in that mindset, and I think that's the thing a lot of players need to learn. Like if you do want to have a deep run, it's hard to get there with a lot of ties.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's definitely 2 times there where I was like, it was like in game 2 or something, and I was like, hey, like I'm gonna win this game like right here in a turn and a half. Like you want to go to game 3? Like, cause like I'm like looking at the clock behind me. I'm like, all right, let's go to game 3.
Yeah.
My natural tie was inconclusive. Like I could have had it. He could have had it. But like my opponent hit boss, crystal,
Wellspring.
everything, Wellspring, turn 2, every game twice through Badoo. So that was not fun. So bye bye Dreepies, bye bye Dracloaks. That was not fun. But yeah, game 3, it was like I'm gonna Iona you to 3 and Badoo a knock towel until I set up. And like he had used 2 knock towels, no hoots on board. It was like, yeah, like we don't know who would have won. Like, yeah, you had prizes, but like, kind of.
Oh, your hand's dead. Yeah, I think.
Yeah. I don't know.
Max, what about you? What was going on with your weekend?
Yeah, on my side, so I didn't make both the tournaments. Just kind of given how hectic things at work have been lately, I kind of wanted to take the Sunday off, so I did not go to the Woki Pokey where the guys just came back from. I did play in the Nakama prep tournament on Saturday. I went 3-2. One of the things that got a little better, I was playing a pretty consistent like Raging Bolt deck that I felt like confident in. And I hit 3 Raging Bolt mirrors, which was just like very annoying.
Christ.
Like there were like 5 of us there, but then I hit like 3 of them over 5 rounds, which I'm like this just feels awful. I mean, and like the 2 I lost, it was like, okay, I either lost the flip, so then like they always got first attack, or or I went first and then they got turn 2 attack. I was kind of like, okay, well, like it's tricky to catch up from there. So, I know like one of my one of the Raging Bolt mirrors, I did have a line to come back, but I like missed. I need to pull off the play because they were down. They didn't have enough energy on board, so I need to try to pull off like the Prime Catcher with Slitherwing KO their Fez, and they wouldn't be able to Sada plus Gus in the same because Prime Catcher was already down. But I missed one of the pieces for that, so then I just wasn't able to win that game. And then in the other Raging Bolt mirror, just kind of fell behind. And in game 3, I just like draw past for 5 thirds.
Yeah.
And like, I don't like anything like that. Because I had my knock dowels down. I had hoot down. I knocked owl in hand. I just had no terras, no ball cards, and I was like, all right, unfortunate, but
be like
that's part of the game. So
part of the game.
But other than that, it was good to get some reps. I definitely have been feeling like sometimes of like, and I think some tournaments at the end of last year definitely felt like a little bit out of practice of like staying locked in for like the longer amount of time. So even sometimes trying to stay like locked in for like 5 rounds here was just like good practice.
Right.
Full warm up. I'm sure the guys are feeling tired or or at least starting to feel a little stretched heading into 9 rounds on Saturday. So Eric, how about you? I know you did pretty well at both of them.
Yeah, I mean for me, I think a lot of our listeners that listen to this podcast know what I have riding on this tournament. So I've been pretty stressed over the last month, like prepping in my mind for Atlanta because see the crib behind me, the baby's coming, the baby's gonna be here soon. It's gonna be a very exciting time in my life. But that means that I won't attend Milwaukee, I won't attend Portland, I will attend NAIC. So this tournament's like my all in. I gotta get one more good finish to like guarantee Worlds. It's my goal for the season. So Just say like I've been loving Pokemon. Like when I say like I'm stressed, like I'm stressed because I love it so much. Like it's the emotion for me. And like this weekend, like being able to coordinate this with all of our locals and have 20 people show up on Saturday and 40 people show up today. For some best of 3 practice, and over the course of 2 days we got 11 rounds of best of 3 practice.
Okay.
You know, I besides like being with my child and my wife, like there's nothing I'd rather like do. Like I just love being with people. I love playing Pokemon. I love getting practice. I played a couple of decks this weekend that like aren't in my top tier of picks for Atlanta, but like aren't my number one right now. Saturday I played our Child on Poison package. I went X11, got top 4. And today I played Gardevoir experimenting with that deck, and I went X2 and got top 8 prizing. So got cash both days, so I think I netted what was prizing yesterday, 20 bucks.
I think it was 25 for top 4 yesterday.
Top 4, yeah.
Oh yeah, I got 25 yesterday, got 20 today, so 15 and 10. So I won $25 on the weekend. Yeah. So paid for the weekend, a lot of fun. Just again, can't stress the fact of like how much I love playing Pokemon. Like across the table with a person and just like always like trying to chit chat it's one of my favorite things to do.
Yeah, just keep loving the game into the weekend, man.
Yeah,
I mean that's what you need.
That's it. Just love the game. I'm looking forward to Atlanta. Seeing all the people, all the homies. And speaking of love of the game, something I do want to call out. We're not gonna talk a lot about what happened in Japan, but did you guys see the Tord video? What happened with what's going on over there?
Oh yeah,
did you see this?
I did not.
So basically, like there's videos. So again, Tord and Rahul and Lucas Zing and some other Westerners went out to the Champions League this past weekend. And they didn't do quite as well last time. Again, it was hard for Tord to do better because he made top 16 last time, made top cut. But didn't do as well this time as last time. But again, still like the community really like showed up and showed out like for him, and was like, I think really savoring the opportunity to have a chance to meet him. So there's a great video of a line of a 45-second video of just someone walking down the line of people in line to see Tord, right? And it wasn't
That's awesome.
And I mean, like, I think Rahul said that, Tord was literally standing there for like 3 hours.
3 hours,
signing stuff, talking to people.
Yeah.
And if you go and look at like Tord's tweets, there's all these replies from Japanese players saying like, hey, thank you so much. Like Tord, I'll always cherish you signing my mat and being able to talk to you. Like, I mean, so, again, like when Pokemon is like so entrenched in these such massive tournaments there that people, try so hard to go to and like, can't really they can't sign up for every regional, can't sign up for every Champions League, like they can't always get in. So I think they like really appreciate like how tough the game is, and then even being able to say, hey, here's a Western player who has done incredible achievements in the game and has come over here and has also reached that incredible achievement. I think just a tremendous amount of respect and admiration for him. So that was super cool to see.
Yeah, I thought it was awesome. So all right, let's move on towards our Atlanta discussion. So I want to kick it off with a trivia question.
Oh, trivia! Oh my goodness!
Oh my!
Usually we do trivia in the middle of in the middle after a lot of discussion. But I want to start our Atlanta discussion with trivia because my trivia question today is strictly about Atlanta, and it's a question that like you guys will have a really good discussion with, and I think I'll just get right into it. So according to Limitless TCG on the where's that? What set is this? Prismatic.
Journey Together.
The Journey Together format on online tournament.
Play Limitless, yeah.
Play Limitless online tournament results. I'm going to give you the top 6 decks that are play rate. Okay. A Terra Box, Dragapult Dusknoir, Raging Bolt Ogerpon, Hops Zacian, Goldango, and Terrapagos Noctowl, which is like the Buffalot deck.
Right.
I want you to rank those 6 decks from 1 to 6 based on their win rate on Play Limitless online.
Oh, win rate?
Their win rate.
So those 6 decks, that is the order of how heavily they're played, right?
That is how heavily they're played, but I want their win rates. I want you to rank them by win rate.
So like, the most popular decks never have the best win rate because like too many people play them.
Just because, yeah.
So do we think like Terrorbox and Dragapult are like a negative win rate right now online?
Probably.
Okay.
Honestly, I think that the Terrapagos deck probably will have the highest win rate. That's just
that one. Yeah, I like people who are playing that are like pretty locked in on it, and it kind of farms Terrorbox.
yeah.
I mean, that was pretty high for me. Okay, I'm a Hops hater. That deck has to be low, right? Like, I mean, that can't. I mean, like Eric's like be like, "Oh, Hopsation is 60%." I'm like, you're not saying that, right? Like,
Bro, I got bodied round 1 by the Hops, but this guy was playing a Hops Matang, and like he was just like, "Yeah, I'll hit your Gardevoir for 330." I'm like, brother.
yeah, yeah.
Anyways,
Okay, so that player went 1-5. So no, no. Okay, I mean, I don't think it's some of the other ones: Goldango, Raging Bolt, and those are the other ones, right?
Terrabox, Dragapult, Dusknoir, Raging Bolt, Hops, Goldango, and Terrapagos.
Yeah, but those decks also don't have a high win percentage. Or all I don't know. Like so Tropicos, bulky Tropicos first, probably.
Probably. That's my guess. Probably Goldango.
Yeah, I was gonna say I can somehow see Goldango, yeah.
Oh god, the other ones are just
maybe Dragapult after that, right? Or Terrorbox. I mean, the deck's still good.
That is stupid.
But I feel like everyone's trying to beat Terrorbox online. Maybe when people are picking up Terrorbox, they don't know how to play it. I think like I think like you could like sack an online tournament into like Rare Candy Dragapult and like Unfair Stamp or like Badoo trap people out of things.
Yeah.
But like Terrorbox, it's like, I mean, yes, you can like it's easy to get like the early 2, but I think like the late game you have some trouble with if you're like burning like 3 Noctowls to do your opening combo or something.
Right, so what do you guys put for third?
Okay. Pult.
Let's put Pult.
Okay, and then I mean, Raging Bolt can have a higher win percentage, or Terrorbox, or Ends, or Arena, or Hops.
Man, Hops. I feel like Hop has to secretly be doing good or something. I don't know. I haven't looked.
I'm a hater.
You're a Hops hater. Okay,
yeah.
So we're putting Hop at 6 then.
Oh, 100%.
All right, Hops at 6. And then
Terrorbox or Raging
Bolt.
Raging Bolt to 5. I'm fine with that. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, what's 4 and what's 5?
4 is Terrorbox, 5 is Raging Bolt. For online win percentage.
For the record, I think Hop might be up. But we're going with what?
I'm too much of a hater. I would never let you do that.
You got 2 right. You want to try again?
I don't know if we have time. I don't know if we have time to try.
Try one more time.
This isn't like the Cups game. Like,
okay,
you're
like,
can
you tell us which 2 we got right?
Terrapagos and Goldango are right.
Yo,
okay,
is
yeah,
Goldango to play?
I mean, we do that.
Terrapagos has a 57.31% win rate, and Goldango has a 54.26 win rate.
Man, we're so smart. All right,
so smart.
Hey, is Raging Bolt good? I think it's kind of good. Any chance that's 3?
Okay, yeah. Okay, let's reorder it then. So then Raging Bolt's 3, and then
if you think Ends is higher than 6, I will. Hops, if you think Hops is higher than 6, I'll allow you to move it up. I don't think it is. Well, I guess we know it's not. But I'm
gonna go Hop. It's number 5.
Okay, I'm okay with that.
Bolt's 3, Pult's 4, and then Terrorbox is 6.
Was Pult 4 last time? No, we had Pult at 3 last time.
Pult was 3.
Okay, we have Pult 4, and then
Pult, Hop, Terrorbox.
Okay. Out of that, you got 1 more right.
All right.
My god.
All right, so you got Raging Bolt right at 51.54%.
Yo, Bolt believers, rise up.
At 4th, Hops coming in with a 49.38% win rate.
So I was right.
Not still fake.
4.
At 5th, you have Terrorbox at 49.2, and at 6th, you have 48.89%.
Dragapult.
Dragapult Dusknoir.
Yeah,
Dragapult must be a fraudulent deck then. No one played Dragapult.
Bonus question, because this is funny as hell. There's only 4 people that have played this deck. But it has the highest win rate on Limitless TCG.
Some control
it's
thing.
It's gotta be a Zoomeril, right? Like the one person who went like 8-0 at a tournament with it, or Pidgeot Control, one of those 2. What do you say, Parker?
Yeah, I was like, it's got to be some control thing.
And I will tell you that they finished no higher than 12th in the tournaments.
I don't even know if I care. No, what is this? What?
It's Sinistra Ogre Pawn.
Oh, actually, that deck cooks.
Oh, yeah, actually.
17 wins, 11 losses, and 1 tie.
All right,
Crazy.
Sinistra is the play. You heard it here. That's going to wrap up the beat episode of the Beach Court Podcast, everyone. No, we got a lot more Atlanta stuff coming for you. If you clicked off, sorry, it's not Sinistra. If you're that person playing Sinistra, though, you're going to win Atlanta. I believe in you.
Anyways, so that was fun trivia, kind of like leading us into, right?
Yeah,
Like, that's the top 6 decks. That's how they're performing on the Limitless TCG site. You know, the 7th deck that was right on the outside of that looking in was Enzorark and Gardevoir, and then Poison Archaludon as far as play rate. But yeah, Max, you want to lead us into the bulk of our Atlanta conversation here?
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, I think, we were just talking about like those most popular decks. So I kind of want to talk about like what we think those most popular decks are and really like what they look like. So again, we mentioned the Dragapults and the Terror Boxes and things like that. So like what are those decks that you're like looking out for and what do you think they look like? So I'll start with this one. I think one deck I'm still watching out for that could easily still be the number one most played deck just due to people's comfort with it and familiarity is Dragapult. Dragapult, remains to be very good. I know that, Terror Box at first early in the format, was kind of, given a hard time by some of the aggressive Terror Box builds. But I think now they've adapted more. I've seen a lot of like Dragapult lists opting for like 3 counter catchers and double Badoo and just like really leaning into Halucha and this unfair stand. Like, so really leaning into like plays to say, hey, you're going to go do whatever, take 2 prizes. Then I can go counter catcher or Noctowl, Itchy Pollen, unfair stand for you to 2, and basically, and just induce a pass out of the opponent basically. And then while at the same time setting up to slowly build up or to Candio to Dragapult. And then, Halucha KO your Hoot Hoots plus your attacker or your draw support. And then just kind of, steal games from there. So Dragapult's a deck that I'm, looking out for. Still the most popular deck potentially. What do y'all think?
I don't know. I feel like everyone's got their Terror Box cards, and like I think might be number one. Like that deck is actually just so stupid when it pops off.
So Terror Box.
Yeah, it's actually. I'd rather play against Drago for 9 rounds than play against that deck.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, outside of getting turn 2 Curum'd,
Right.
like I'd rather play against Drago.
I feel like Terror Box wishes it was Drago, honestly.
That's what I'm saying, right?
I don't know.
I mean, like,
yeah.
you just, I mean, like, I don't know, like, it, like, Terror Box, it's like so good when it does everything it needs to do, but at the same time, sometimes you're just like, sometimes finding those 2 prizes are kind of clunky, especially in like decks that are starting to counter it now or be more prepared for it. And there's sometimes when you just don't have a good option to go and like take 2 prizes, or if you do, it's like some ridiculous line that says, okay, I'm gonna go and like grab Vessel and like switch plus boss, and like you're like using so many resources just to like take the knockout. Again, it has its aggression, but I think it's a deck people are gonna be ready for, but it also does have the Tord effect. Tord and Rahul played it, right? It is a very high profile deck, so like people know about it, people are excited about it, people have played games with it, and people have said, oh well, Tord played it, so I can't really go wrong playing it myself. Eric, what you think?
Are you asking like what I think the most popular deck's gonna be?
Yeah, I mean, if you think it's something different, or if you think it's one of these, so
Yeah, I mean, I think it could be either, right? I think we're gonna be in a meta where like if you look at the meta from like Stockholm and some of the later regionals, like you're pushing like close to 20% of Dragon Ball, right? Like, what's the last American regional? Vancouver, if you count that one. So Vancouver was like 19.3% Dragapult. Like, those players have the cards, they're comfortable with the deck, and if you're building your deck to beat Terror Box, which is what most people are doing because they think the play rate's going to be high, and I agree. I could see it, I could see Terror Box being like 17 and Dragapult being like 16, or vice versa, right? I could see them being like super close, like those 2 decks being like super scaled down on the chart, and then the rest of the decks that are in the top 6, they're gonna be like 8 to 9% or less on each of them. It's kind of like the feeling I'm getting that like there's the clear 2 best decks, and then there's like there's like a tier A, like because we're not doing like a tier chart or anything, right? So you got those two
Yeah.
decks, like the two best decks, and you got tier A of like Raging Bolt, Archaludon, Goldango, right? Those are like all, and even like Gardevoir started to sneak up in there. Like those four decks, like they're all just like fine plays. Like just play a good deck. Um, let the matchup roulette be what the matchup roulette is, and then play well in your matchups, right? So I don't know. I can't decide on them. I think it's truly a coin flip at the end of the day of like which one becomes first and which one's second.
Yeah, no, I think it's an interesting point to bring up some of the old numbers, right? We're seeing 20% of Dragapult at the end of the format. And like, is Dragapult a better play now, or would people have like, and as anyone that played Dragapult last format, are they switching off of Dragapult?
Right.
And I mean,
some will.
Some will, but I also think a lot of people would go to Dragapult. So I'm almost seeing a world where it's like any way Dragapult could like maintain 20 or even go above that.
I agree. Yeah, I agree. It could.
Yeah, but also I don't even know if the deck is strong enough to be able to do that, which is kind of interesting. So,
you lose some really, we talked about this last episode, the F block, like Minion, Rodom, Forest Steelstone, like so many good cards you lose.
Yeah, it does feel a lot worse to play now.
Yeah, I feel like I had to play out of my mind like every game there.
Yeah.
But like to be fair, I was getting dumped on by like the Terror Box and stuff.
Well, and that's to your point, Parker, is like I think we're in a somewhat healthy format. Like I don't know like what it's gonna look like once we get the the Shaman, but we're also getting the other thing that looks a little unhealthy, the little crustacean thing.
The Crustle.
What is it called?
Crustle.
Yeah, I think he's a little unhealthy for the format, but I think the format right now is like I think overall the format right now is like very good. Like every match I'm playing, I feel like I'm in control somewhat. Whereas like last format, it's like, all right, does my opponent have Laminion for Sealstone to go get any two cards they want from their deck every single turn? And yes, that's what Noctowl does, but they can only do it so many times, right?
Yeah, only 4 times a game.
So I don't know. I just feel like this format's like healthy. Like I like playing this weekend. I felt like I had fun. Like I felt like it was skillful play for the most part.
Yeah, I think you definitely have to get
zero Raging Bolts all weekend, so maybe.
I think you have to get over the initial hurdle of like all the decks feeling worse than they used to. But once you get over that, you're like, okay, I'm kind of picking up what's going on here. I'm learning how to use Noctowls, and I'm putting a Terra down before I Jewel Seeker, all that fun stuff. But I'll talk about some of those other decks you mentioned, Eric. All right, I mean, Raging Bolt for one. Again, a deck that has been popular. Really, it's been around for about a year. And I think that it is probably a little better positioned now than it has been lately. So I think kind of the question there is, because I didn't see too high a play in like previous, like in the formats right before this. So I know that some people have been playing with the Noctowls. Other people have been, so we'll put out the video with just, hey, just play Squawk the old-fashioned way, and churn through the deck and play 4 Pokemon catchers. If so, if you're going to flip over Raging Bolt, like what are you expecting from their deck this weekend?
I'm expecting Noctowl. Like, yeah, I'm expecting like everyone, like 100% of me playing Prime Catcher, and I'm expecting like 80% of them to be Noctowl, and then some maybe like listen to Bizzle and do it. But all the results online playing Noctowl. They got to be careful, right? I mean, your Terror Box matchup, we just talked about, like Dragapult and Terror Box are going to be up there. Terror Box matchup for Raging Bolt is not good. It's online win rate is 45% against the deck. And Terrapagos Noctowl, another deck that's kind of like coming up in popularity, 38% win rate. And you would think, why, right? Like it's Bouffalant, right? Like why? I can't answer that question. I haven't tested the matchup at all, but these are just the straight numbers that that we see. So I don't know. I think Raging Bolt is a fine deck. I think it's a good, strong deck. I think it's consistent, which is what you need in this format going into Atlanta. It'll see play. It'll be like that 9-10% again because Sala, Teal Dance,
people like the deck. People like drawing cards and see a lot of them. Yeah.
I mean, I think like the deck was like robustly popular this weekend. Like it's always popular at Pokey, but like it'll definitely you'll play against it at regional. Like you can't just play a deck that loses to it.
Yeah, I think we had 9 today. If I counted, I didn't fully told my total today, but I think we had 9 out of like 40 players.
No, definitely a Raging Bolt. Definitely a Raging Bolt bias at definitely a Raging Bolt bias at some reliable spots. But
when I went to that challenge, there was like 15 players and like 10 of them were playing Bolt. I was like, what?
Parker, I'm swinging
Pokemon
over to you.
catcher.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah. Parker, I'm swinging over to you. I know you played some Archaladon on Saturday. I think Archaladon is a deck that a lot of people have been talking about. Some people are playing the Poison Donk build. Some people are playing it with mix of some of the hops cards or doubles. Again, what do you think is strongest with Archaladon right now, and how are you expecting most people to play it this weekend?
I mean, so the way I play, if I should play it for Atlanta, I'm not playing the poison package. However, I think the poison package will be the more popular variant of it, just because it's more exciting. People like playing exciting, high rolly things, and they just want to donk their opponents and stuff. But I don't know. I prefer that kind of slower, tanky mid game play style, sort of like 3 turns and that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But
so yeah, so here's what the question comes down to: is if you're going second, and you know what your opponent's playing, are you benching? If you open 2 Dreepies, you benching both of them?
Absolutely, 100%. Yes, yeah. And I think this is the weekend. You bench everything.
Yeah, there's no reason not to unless you know you're playing.
If you have something that's more than 100 HP, you can just not bench something else also. But if it's under 100 HP, yeah, you bet your butt I'm benching more than one. Yeah, I don't know, Parker. I mean, the deck I played on Saturday was kind of a hybrid, right? It wasn't.
Yeah.
It wasn't an all-in poison, no Carmines, no nonsense, right?
Carmines are a little nonsense.
I think the Carmines are kind of good though.
But Carmines is such a terrible supporter.
Okay, yeah, the card sucks, but you just need to see cards in that deck. And if you go first and you see Carmine, I don't know, it just sets you up for your mid game to be better.
Yeah, so for me, the deck I chose, I was going second.
Yeah.
Blind second, and playing it that way with a trolley. And the real advantage of the poison is playing around Fez and hitting bigger numbers. You can hit 290 with Archaladon, which is honestly unheard of. We haven't had that, yet. Right? This will be the first tournament where we've had that. And the problem has always been is can Arch find the turret when they need it, or can they find the boss when they need it?
Or black belts or whatever, yeah.
Well, yeah, but now it's just you can almost go through the active every turn, and you can almost sometimes play around Fez, which is great. You get the Baby Dura, they can hit 30 or 70 with the Mochi, and it can hit up to 100 with the poison. So there's a lot of cool things that the deck can do that I like. Again, to answer your question, if someone flips over a Duraludon, I'm immediately saying they're playing poison until verified
proven otherwise.
Yeah, exactly.
I am too.
Yeah.
I didn't even think about it, but if you were to bring back a Black Spelt's training or Kieran or something, we're hitting 330, knock out a Charizard, right?
You go hit 320.
320. Black belt, you can hit 330. Black belt,
you can hit 330. Okay.
But with Zacian, which they're both playing Zacian, you can hit 340.
Oh, the hop station. Okay. Yeah, some big numbers there. Let's see.
I came to Dragapult this weekend on Saturday.
You have a good deck.
And they couldn't use Fez.
Yeah, it's pretty tough. Oh yeah, I think those are the main ones. I mean, any other thoughts? I guess some quick hitters. The bulky Terapagos deck. I've never seen that around. I think that's pretty solid.
It performed well today. We had 2 players in our top 8. 1 player took first with it. And so it is performing well. I think it is beating Terrabox. I don't know how well it's beating Dragapult. I mean, they can just dust over your booth, and it seems pretty bad. But I guess you can charm your booth because they are playing a charm or 2 sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah, they're only playing 2 charms.
Are you gonna charm both of them? Are you gonna charm both your booths?
Well, you always put 3 booths into play.
I mean, but nobody's doing that, right?
Yeah.
It's so hard to even I started playing the deck originally probably a month ago, and I wrote it off pretty early. It's because you can't really get your booths into play consistently. The deck itself is not very consistent. But the numbers don't lie, right? I mean, it's doing well in online tournaments. It did well today at Loki. I played against it my last round. It was definitely awkward, but I think it's just not. I don't think it has the power level. Right? You can't hit any good numbers.
Yeah,
it's not playing
240.
But it plays Lily's Clefairy to deal with Dragapult. And also Monkey Dory. So there's some shenanigans you can pull off if you're able to tank a hit and then I like, again, it has some results. I just don't have enough reps with it, but
Yeah.
it is seeing some success. And
Like
honestly,
Poison Archaludon's hitting 290 consistently, so you gotta have the charm. You gotta have the charm to like not die to Poison Archaludon.
yeah,
So,
What a world we live in.
and they're crazy. I mean, that's what I'm saying. It's definitely good, right? I mean, any trap, any deck playing Noctowl right now is like a good deck because, you can just search for 2 cards. That's why Flareon's doing well, right? We had a Flareon today that did well. I don't know if did he win the last round, Parker, the Flareon guy?
I played against him, and he
Oh.
did not.
Anyways, yeah, I mean,
Marty said it's you or me, and it's not going to be you. So,
Basically, it's time
Yeah, but, like-
in for the two of us.
but like the Noctowl engine is very strong, right? It's essentially
Yes.
It's essentially a Lemenion and a Forest Seal Starter in 1 card. So,
shady dealings. So,
I don't know. I think it's good. I think the deck that like everyone's like kind of talking about is Zorak. Like everyone's like, is Zorak good? Like where does Zorak fit? Like that's because like if you look at the player, everyone's playing it. Like when I say everyone, I mean it's like 7th popular.
Yeah,
It's got a good popularity. That's a good number. But like I'm just not seeing it, right? I'm not seeing the results for the deck. Someone did get top 8 tonight with it. So it got top 8.
Yeah.
It needs a partner. Like, where's that partner gonna come from? I saw Azul's trying it in Archaludon. Kind of makes sense, right? Where is it that you need to draw cards, right? Could a Gardevoir Zorak show up?
Yeah, I mean, right, refinement curly at home, right? Well, like, I mean, like, my thing with N's deck is like, it has some really good elements, right? You have a great draw engine, you have a snipe attack, but beyond that, like, you're not hitting like great numbers, right?
Yeah.
I mean, like, and you're not bulky enough to like, I mean, 280 is a good number, but it's always been kind of a tricky number in the format, where it's like, it's not quite enough. Like you're still getting, and we're still in kind of like a one-shotting format.
Yeah, a little bit.
So, but like, and I guess, comparing to the predecessor of like Zorak GX, right, where you had trade, but you had a neutrally good attack. It's just a double colorless energy, hit some solid damage, and you could like very easily pair with other partners. Here, like, End Zorak is a completely dead weight unless you could get 2 darks onto it, and you have an Ends Pokemon on your bench. And, and it's copying bench Pokemon, right? So Mew VMAX could do that, but we had, damage modification, plus we had Shred, plus we had, 190, plus you're playing Choice Belt or Power Town, like hit the big numbers. Right, or you go Snipe. I mean, so like, or Melodious Echo, right? You had all these like high damage options, right? I was like, I'm playing Mew VMAX, so I can like snipe 2 things on the bench and like set up for a Devo play, where it's like, I mean, like that's not the like. It's like, so it's like the deck again. It feels like it's missing that like, strong option. Again, Reshiram hitting like 170 just like doesn't really cut it anymore. And like 90, discard all the energy. Like it's so much work to get it back. I think again, we like, I almost need to see them like reprint a more broken Ends Pokemon attacker in like 2 sets from now, or else I don't know if this deck's ever going to be good.
Yeah, I don't know if I ever get another one. Doesn't seem like it.
Oh no, I will say though, like that deck is how Pokemon should be played. It shouldn't be this one shot back and forth.
Yeah, back in my day.
Yeah, no, that's how it should. That's how Pokemon should be.
You're like, back in my day, I played Bridget, searched for 3 basics, and then attach and pass. But I mean, it is. I mean, again, we're in a very like item-based game, so like when things aren't going that fast and can't hit unlimited damage, it's like, what's even the point of playing it? Which is like a weird world to be in.
All right, let's move on to the next topic.
Yeah. Again, we were kind of talking about it a little bit. But I mean, maybe Tropicos. I guess it's one of the top 6 played decks online. So maybe Tropicos Buffon isn't an under the radar deck, but it is under the radar decks that we're expecting to see success. I mean, I think again the big one is the Champions League in this format. We did see Feraligatr win.
Yeah.
Utilizing the closest thing to a Snorlax stall that we have today, but also the tournament was dominated by Walls. There's also, other decks. Again, we kind of mentioned Gardevoir, Goldango, little decks that are under the radar, but still seeing a lot of play. I mean, are there any of these, like, less seen archetypes or control-based archetypes that we might see make a big run?
Yeah, Sinistcha Ogerpon.
Oh, Sinistcha Ogerpon is back. We got to check the matchup data on that. Everyone, make sure you stay up late on Friday practicing your matchup. Imagine you say that, though, and it wins. No, but
That'd be kind of crazy. That'd be the best clip ever. You want to give this one a shot first, Parker? I'm going to go first.
As far as like a control archetype, I think there'll be like a Frostless Badu amalgamation
Yeah.
thing in day 2.
Yeah.
Like item locking the whole game, just and like all the little chip damage, like pretty good.
Yeah.
If I had to like pick an under the radar deck, like I'm picking I think Cerulege makes an okay appearance.
Ooh.
Get out of here.
No, bro.
This
You just
single prize board and you can use Briar. Kind of broken.
Exactly. And then you just hit for knockout and just hit for knockout, and it doesn't all you have to do is evolve and attach an energy. And like I don't know, I think there's a fairly deep run with it. And then I think Future is also knocking on the door.
No shot.
Absolutely.
No shot.
3 Iron Hands attacks wins any game. 2 sometimes.
Yeah, the problem is it takes 4 attacks to do that.
You said all
you
your
go power
generators.
one up. Yeah, you go. Well, you can use the Brian on attack, or you can just hit your generator.
You don't ever hit your generators in that deck, bro.
Yeah, you do. Just
No, you don't.
Future Hits is always the funniest deck. Because like Eric and I showed up with it, cooked it, I won money with it, and then I like never played the deck again. After UIC last year, like neither of us ever picked up the deck again. Every now and then we're like, yo, is Future back? And we're like, look at it a little bit, and then we're like, no. So
Almost like the Zard became the most popular thing. So
well, that's what I was gonna say. That's my under the radar deck. I think
Charizard.
Some version of Charizard, whether it be Charizard Noctowl or Charizard Pidgeot, like
I see
that's my under the radar deck. It's definitely it's got a hostile meta, right? It's a struggle, and it's because like the Pidgeys are just 60 HP, man. It's so brutal.
Yeah.
But like there's some things you can do, right? And there's some Charizard believers out there that like I'm looking like Jackson Ford, like, I'm looking at him to see like, okay, is he gonna play Charizard? That's when you know it's Charizard dead. Like if people like Jackson Ford or like even like the next Brazilian tournament, I think is pretty quickly after ours. If you see Andre Acevedo not playing Charizard, like something's wrong. So that's an underrated deck. I think the other one, and I'm gonna leave this one here and I'm gonna run away. Slowking.
honestly.
I could see Slowking making like top 32 or better.
Slowking, right? Yeah. I mean, I feel like again a deck that has been around, and also it's funny. It's funny how these decks have kind of cycled because like, for Alligator saw play as a deck, like Slowking saw play as a deck, like, and then people were playing them. I remember even like pre-rotation, people were showing up at locals with like Slowking decks because it did well post-rotation in Japan. So like, there's some of these decks that like did well or were seen that people like playing. I feel like they almost got like their taste of them and then kind of like let them be in a way where it's like Slowking, once the idea came out, they tried it. And then, I mean, maybe people are picking it up now still.
Listen, Xatu to your Clefairy, KO Dragapult. GG's.
Well, they just go Slowking and, you can have the Clefairy on the bench and still deal damage weakness.
And you can even just go like, all right, Kieran, see ya.
Put Mew EX on top of your deck for genome hacking the Dragapult.
Listen, one of the coolest plays I've seen. One of the coolest plays I've seen with like KO and Dragapult and stuff is the Gardevoir decks. What they're doing is they've got the Mew EX plus the Bravery Charm. So they put the Bravery Charm on Mew EX, the Clefairy on the bench. They Monkey Dory 30 damage to your Dracloak, Iono you, and then take 3 prizes by carrying the active and KOing your Dracloak on the bench. And I'm just like, that's insane.
All at the same time, putting out of range from being KO'd back.
Yeah, you can't KO me back. Yeah, exactly.
For 200, yeah. It's nutty plays. On the radar for me, again, I like for Alligator. I played, a slow for Alligator with barrels and reversals like way back like a year ago, and I like trying to play it a little bit now. Like again, it feels like there isn't quite what it needs to be. I do need to say I think that of any tournament, that Atlanta is maybe the one tournament you want to be ready for walls. Yeah. And like, if you can play that out in your deck, right? I think a lot of Terra Box decks are going to be playing a Cornerstone. Be ready for Farigiraf. I think, Raging Bolt's going to throw in a random Cornerstone. And any of these decks that can like reasonably attack with a Cornerstone, I think is probably in a good spot to throw it in, unless you have like unless if your deck just casually beats walls type of thing, right? Again, I think that walls will probably be a little bit thwarted performance, but there are going to be plenty of walls present. So I think you need to be ready to beat walls, or else you will be the casualty of walls.
Correct.
And walls only do well if you let them do well by not playing Cornerstone or not having a route for them.
You'll be another brick in the wall.
Exactly. Player to Dunsparce EX, or like, what, or your Hopzation, or your own Cornerstone, or whatever the option is. Yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking. So for some of the under the radar decks. All right. We do want to move into a little bit of predictions before a little bit of like a round table on like how we're approaching the event. But just strictly on Atlanta stuff, I got a couple questions, kind of want everyone here, and we'll take some notes down and see how we do. So I think the deck, that both of y'all played in different capacities this past weekend, and it's been getting a lot of attention. Talking Archaladon. Again, a lot of decks that's kind of, we've seen poison package, we've seen all these different ways. But ultimately, results matter. So highest placing Archaladon deck. I've been a big believer in this being a fraud deck, but maybe it's a little less fraudulent now. I know both of you decided to play this weekend. It's a deck you're considering. What do you think highest placing Archaladon deck will be this weekend?
ASIM cut.
That's my answer.
So top 16.
ASIM cut.
You got to pick top 16 or top 8.
Well, it can be top 32.
Nah, it ain't happening.
All right, one always somehow makes top 8.
I'm putting it top 16 for Eric. Unless he's changed. Top 8 for Parker.
And it always makes top 8. So
I'm not saying they're losing, though. I'm saying they're making ASIM cut.
You got to pick top 8 or top 16. That's how this works.
ASIM cut is all 3, buddy.
All right, whatever. I'm going to just die on my hill of it being a fraudulent deck. Give me top 32. Maybe it wins. Actually,
that's not that fraudulent.
I mean, if top 32 right now with any deck.
Yeah, if I could lock in a top 32.
Well, people are saying this is one of the best decks to play, and only one, and like the highest placing one is in top 32. Then like that's not very good in my opinion. When you expect it with a turnover.
Your results are in the Warriors, buddy. You gotta have numbers to back it up.
I don't know, but I mean, fair enough. All right. Next one here. Eric, we lost
punched his camera.
Yeah, I punched my camera. I definitely hit something on my desk right there. So yeah, but we're still here.
He's that passionate about Archaladon. So, but anyways, another card that's popped up. Brock Scouting. So again, this is a card, that really heralds back to some of what Park was saying earlier about like the old days of the game, right? Brock Scouting, new cards from Journey Together.
We got one Pokemon from our deck.
Yeah. For Brock Scouting, it's your supporter for turn. You can search your deck for 2 basic Pokemon, put them into your hand, or search 1 evolution Pokemon, put it into your hand. Some people have been playing this in Dragapult as a poor man's Lance, or have been playing even tech inclusions in like Terrabox or the bulky Terapagos to help set things up. But again, not a strongest supporter effect, but in a world of Badoo, having something that you can knock Towel for to set up your board a little more, pretty good. So, highest placing copy of Brock's Scouting at the Atlanta Regional Championships.
Top 64.
Top 256.
Wow.
I don't know. No, I mean, oh, God. It's like, I don't know. I play it in my deck and I still just never draw it. Like, I was like, I don't know.
I'll just play Lamignon to get it, brother.
You play Lamignon. Where's your stone? Yeah. No, I don't know. Let's go. Top 64. Yeah. Top 64.
Copycat.
I was gonna go a little more aggressive with my guests as in higher placements, but y'all didn't give a lot of respect. I don't think this card is very good. I do think that we're gonna see like a bulky Terapagos deck that does well, including like a tech copy of it, or like a Dragapult with a tech copy of it. So
why does the bulky Terapagos play it? To get the boofs?
It's a way to search your boofs, yeah. So I'm actually gonna give it. I would let this part of me in safety wants to say top 16, but I'm just gonna say it. I'm just gonna say Brock Scouting is a top 8.
No shot.
Yeah, you're right. Probably top 16. I'll fall back up.
I hope so.
That's actually crazy. Are they playing that right now?
I've seen a few of them play with the bulky with the.
I mean, yeah, it's double basic search under
Yeah.
Badu. So
Yeah, I'll give it
Right.
top 8. We'll just send it. Rock Scouting enjoyers, I believe in you. I will not be playing the card given any opportunity, but if you want to play it, go for it.
Listen, I like the card overall.
But yeah. All right.
Yeah,
Tournament of Doom, metagame, Tropica's Noctowl, cards, looking for Brock's. 0.09 out of 32. So 3 players.
Yeah, again, I'll happily be wrong with this because that'll, guarantee that this is a bad card. But I think some Terror Box deck's gonna show up with it. All right, moving on. A deck that we know is going to see play. We've been talking about it a lot. We're talking about none other than Jewel Seeker Noctowl, the defining engine of the format. Again, I think it's very likely that we'll see a Noctowl deck in top 8. Again, it's seeing such heavy play. I think the question is just how many will we see? So, gents, I want the total number of Noctowls in all of the top 8 decks.
Okay, so if
5.
one deck is playing 4, that counts.
That counts as 4. That counts as 4.
Oh,
So
20.
total counts of Noctowl in top 8 decks.
There will be 20 Noctowls.
Parker locking in 20.
This closest without going over.
It's closest. Bro's gonna hit us with hit us with the 0.
No,
honestly,
you're the one.
I'm gonna go with 11. I'm gonna go a little more conservative. It's gonna be more than that.
Hey,
I'm
who's
going
playing
15.
1?
No, someone's playing 3.
Okay.
So you go 11. You got like 2 of 4 and 1 of 3.
Sure.
But I'm gonna go 15. I think we'll see like 3 decks with full Noctowl engines, 1 with a partial, or 2 with a partial, or something like that.
I mean, because Bolt plays like what?
2 right now, right?
2 to 3, something like
Yeah.
that. Yeah. Or like Zard's decks could be playing a hybrid of them, or like
I'm gonna go. All right, so 8 times 4 is 32.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go 24.
Ooh, 24 Noctowls. All right. We'll see you next week, gents. And finally, again, talking about our big winner, which ace spec do we expect to win the tournament?
Okay,
and if,
Vital.
and if an ace spec does not win, which one will be the highest placing?
Okay, Vital A.
Eric, you locking that in? Seriously?
Yeah.
All right, Eric with the Pokey Vital A pick. Man, I really wanted to get that one. No.
Wow. Gee willikers.
You laugh now. You're laughing now, brother.
No, everyone's
laughing at-
everyone's listening to the segment where I said to play your cornerstones, and no walls are going to get anywhere near.
Okay, fine. Survival break.
No, you already locked in Pokey Vital A. Parker, what you got? Or you need me to go? I'll take it if it's there.
I just gotta be safe and say Sparkling Crystal, I guess.
Yeah, that's the pretty good one. Yeah, Sparkling Crystal would have been my pick. Again, we could see it in Dragapult. We are seeing it in Terror Box. Just a very, very safe pick, and we know it's going to go well. Since I can't pick Crystal, I think that Disruption's very strong right now, so I'm just going to go Unfair Stamp.
Yep.
All right, got our predictions noted down. Hey, if you think anything differently, anyone listening at home, if you're a believer in the Survival Brace, or maybe an Awakening Drum, or Reboot Pod, or something like that, you let us know in the comments, or shout us out on Twitter. Let us know what you're thinking about.
Dude, how times have changed. Remember how much we loved Prime Catcher for like a very long time?
I think Prime Catcher's still going to be in top 8. I think Prime Catcher will still make it. I think that it's just not guaranteed. Right?
Like the only decks that are like playing Prime is like Raging.
Basically, yeah.
Kind of wild, right?
Yeah.
Like what decks are playing Pidgeot? Mammal Swine.
Yeah, some Zards.
Shellhard.
Even like the even Tord would play Turtles with a Pidgeot. We're not seeing Turtles with Pidgeot. I think just like Badu makes it so hard to get that powered up because you don't want to play Evo because that's
That
like
thing
too slow.
That ruled our world for like a very long time.
Last
No.
season.
There's so many clips of us in the podcast saying, why would we play anything other than Prime Catcher, right?
You're right.
And now
exactly.
we're playing the Prime Catcher. Sparkling Crystal will be like, oh, I guess that's like niche use in this deck. And now everyone's like, oh, I can just like plop in all these Ogre Ponds and like do a bunch of shenanigans. And now Crispin's a 3 of in every deck. And it's like, what are
Okay,
you doing?
last prediction, because this is actually like, I'm not capping. Will there be any copies of Ogre Pond Mask in day 2?
Ogre's Mask, the
Ogre's
card,
Mask.
the Thornton card
Yeah.
between masks.
Well, it'll be
Yeah.
any copies in day 2 and how many? 2 copies.
Give me one. It's 0 or 1, honestly. One person. I mean, actually, Atlanta's a big enough tournament that one person's going to show up and be like, "Oh, I can do the thing," and they're gonna and you're going to see their Twitter post later. And it's gonna be like, "Hey, I got 302nd place Ogre's Mask. It was never good throughout the day, but it was cool to get a little on this page."
Yeah. I'm just interested that I think that card's kind of slept on a little bit and not explored enough.
Eric, you locking in a guess, or you just
I'll just go
suggest?
1. Yeah.
All right, good stuff. So before we hop into our last bit about read the cards, RTC from ATL, I want to talk a little bit about like entering a new format, and I think just like a little bit of like last minute like deck reassurance or like mindset reassurance for players. So if you're anything like me, right, like you probably have a good idea about like what 1 or 2 decks you're playing, but maybe you're deciding on that list, or you're deciding on like how to approach it, or like what you need to be ready for and what you shouldn't be ready for. So I kind of want to talk about like this innovation versus like consistency, right? So is this a tournament where you need to walk in and say, "Hey, I have this hot new spicy tech, or I'm going to play this and it's going to totally, win me games," or should I be saying I'm going to lean extra into like consistency and what's like the line there? So Parker, I kind of want to kick it over to you, see if you have some early thoughts on this, because you've been prepping for these new formats a lot longer than us, and I've seen these rotations and what does well and what doesn't do well. So I guess on a blanket statement, like first tournament, you going like innovation or consistency?
I'm trying consistency. I mean, like, there's certain things that, like, maybe it's like, oh, my deck gets bopped by Dragapult. Although I need if I can put it in the engine, like a way to get Clefairy out in 1 turn, or like, oh, my deck, oh, I don't know. You need a way to beat Pikachu, so you gotta like put a Rocky Helmet or a Vengeful Punch or the Poison Package or like 1/1 Starmie or Hawlucha or like something in the deck to kind of like play around it. But like for the most part, especially early in the format, it's just like the consistency. I think is just the biggest part. A lot of games you'll win. I mean, not a lot of games, but like some games you'll win simply because your deck worked and your opponent did.
Yeah, I think something to be said about like the consistency hit that is taken in the format, right? You lose like, Thornton and Forest Sealstone in some of these ways that like let you make those plays that like almost like, oh, well, my only Charmander died, but it's okay. I have this combo that I can bring it back. Like you kind of lose some of that flexibility. My thinking is like consistency is king, but if you can like add a tech or an inclusion that, significantly improves like your win percentage, then like, is that ever worth it? So I almost think of like, the winning deck from Champions League, like the Feraligatr line said, "Hey, I'm going to throw in a melodic here." And it says, "Hey, this is a larger package, but if I do this and I take a Dragapult, which is regularly a terrible matchup, and now turn this into close to like an auto win for a deck that you expect to be highly played," like I almost see some value in something like that. I agree, like maybe shoving in like Crispin, Psychics, and Lily's Clefairy into like a deck that really has no business playing it probably doesn't make sense. But maybe there is some amount of like you can pick or include a tech to help swing, how your deck operates.
Yeah, I mean, I think you definitely can include techs. I think you should be teching for walls if your deck doesn't beat it naturally. It's a matchup where I think you just have to include those spots this weekend. I don't know. I'm a numbers guy, so I like to think about it like from a numbers perspective, and I think last format we saw supporter lineups being about 10%. It can equate to like 6 to 9 cards at most of your your deck to like equate to like drawing cards. So does that number need to go up? Does that number need to be like, hey, now when you deck build, every deck should include about 10 supporters or 12 supporters to kind of account for a slower format? Not sure of the answer of that yet. I mean, the format does seem still like it's a little fast. It is slowing down some, but with cards like our Child Island format that just like evolve and put 2 energy on itself and like start swinging over 220, right? Or Raging Bolt, just hit infinite damage. Um, it's it's interesting to see. So I think like the reason why Raging Bolt is good is because it's consistent for the most part, right? The reason why Terror Box is good is because like you have a consistent turn two like strong attack. The reason why Dragon Bolt's good is because it can come back. That's why Dragon Bolt's good. So it's like I think you need to just make sure that you're consistent at doing your strategy and whatever that strategy is. And you need to know the strategy is like the first part, and then I would focus on consistency, but tech for control. And by when I say control, I mean don't get retreat locked. Play your switch, play your Turo, and play something that can hit through a cornerstone or a melodic or whatever it is you do. So that's my
I
take.
think, yeah, I think well said. And I think also the question here is like top players when they approach these events. Again, first tournament after rotation. I guess, and Parker, again, kind of call back some of your history. What do you typically see top players doing at these events? Are they playing a deck from last format and just playing like the most consistent version of it? Or are they playing like the best new deck and just playing, a straightforward list? Or are they, do you see the new archetypes showing up at these first major tournaments and saying, hey, no one's thought of this, but I have the spicy list that actually just beats everything?
I do kind of see you kind of see all three of them. It depends on the format, the tournament, all that stuff. But sometimes like there is some kind of like secret thing that a lot of people overlooked, and like, hey, one testing group is just,
Yeah,
this deck, man. So that like you do see all three of it. I can't. I mean,
like, what's your hunch for this tournament if you had to pick one of the three? About like the best top, like the highest placing top players will like do one of these three things.
probably. I don't know. I can't really think of anything crazy that I've like people have overlooked. But I mean, it always could exist. So like, just because of that reason, I'm gonna say there's some new archetype or version of a deck that players will be on that the general public isn't aware of.
Yeah, I mean it's interesting right now because we're in a world where metafy groups exist, and you've got all these groups where like yeah, I'm paying pay me for my list, and these players are being pretty transparent, and it's a great thing for the community. It does grow the community. It helps support players continue playing, which I talked about earlier, just like love of the game and playing. Um, so I think what we see for the most part, like you look at like what Goldango happened at NEIC, it was kind of
UIC, yeah.
EUIC just popped out of nowhere, right? But I think that's not normal. I think that most people just take the consistent route and say, okay, what is the best deck in format, and how do I make it its most consistent list? That's what I see most top players doing.
Yeah, that's kind of what I thought too. I do think there's going to be like a group that shows up with something they haven't seen before, or like a newer innovation on like a Terror Box, right? I mean, Terror Box, the deck that most people are ready for, right? That is hey, here's an innovation from a testing group, right? When we had Rahul on a few weeks ago, they said, hey, someone played this to a City Week League 2 days ago, and then some of the top players went and made a best version of that list, and now that's what most people are using as their 60 for Atlanta, right?
Yeah.
So I think there's that mix, right? Kind of like Parker said. I think a lot of just, neutral high skill players will just be showing up and saying, hey, I have played more games of Terror Box than anyone I sit across from, and my experience with the deck or with Dragapult, or like an Andrew Hedrick, right? The list that he won with Vancouver, right? It's just a pretty straightforward, consistent Dragapult list. He could totally show up and say, hey, I played more games with this than you. I'm going to play perfectly as I can and just be fine with that. So I think a lot of players will do that, but again, it wouldn't surprise me if there is that secret deck or that innovation or that advancement of a deck that
I don't think he'll ever do it, but if Torch showed up and then didn't leak this in his like Metafy group, he'll be the first one to day two. Like, hi, with Zorark. He's gonna have the first top 8 within Zorark in his deck. I guarantee it.
Whenever it comes time for trade and the return of towards Zorark. All right, any other comments before we wrap up on Atlanta or on like how we should be approaching the tournament?
I mean, I think the most important comment is you can metagame You can turn attack, you can do all these things, but if you don't know your matchup plan versus the best 6 decks in the room, even sometimes 7, 8, then you're not going to do well. Lock in, have fun, make sure you know your deck, know it in and out, hydrate, 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 eat food. Did I say have fun?
Yeah, you did. But say it again.
Did I say drink beers?
You said drink water.
Oh, that was hydrate. Oh, my bad.
Hydrate, yeah.
Anyways, it's, especially if it's your first time, man, like just go and have a great time. If you lose your first 3 rounds, so what? Suck it up and play 4 more rounds, right? Like you're there to practice and learn and get better. And that's what this is all about. We can't all win. There's some winners, there's lots of losers, and that's just how it goes. That's the tournament.
Yeah. Again, my favorite thing that I always talk about, it's always like such a great experience to just like go to a regional and sit across someone who enjoys the game as much as you do.
Right.
Because it takes a certain level of dedication and enjoyment of the game to say, hey, I'm going to go travel away from home to go play, at 9 a.m. on a Saturday morning for 9 hours or 12 hours, right? I mean, and again, the person you're sitting across from has been preparing, has been looking forward to this as well. And, you get to meet someone from a different corner of the world, or for some, right the back door, say, hey, this is my first regional, or I'm visiting here, or I traveled from, another country to be here. So those experiences are always cool. So definitely have to echo what Eric says about having fun and good luck. Parker, any in passing wisdom?
I don't really have any wisdom. But no.
Anyways, coin bonus.
Yeah, exactly. Coin bonus or
Recon directive.
or recon directive or jewel seeker. Your way to victory.
See all the good cards.
Yeah, just make sure your mental is like where it needs to be when you're playing in these tournaments. We look as far as our podcast right here, right? Maddox, you've been down on yourself before. Eric's been down on himself before. Parker gets down on himself. It does happen, but like figure out how to have that like short-term memory, get rid of it, and just like play the next round.
He's never up on himself.
You're all right.
Yeah, you're always gonna get sacked at least once, right? You're gonna open against one opponent and they're just gonna have everything against you, and that's fine because that's one game or one match.
And then you're gonna have it next round.
Yeah, so go win the other 8, right? Like that's the whole point. I guess real quick, just to give the listeners a little taste of what we're thinking about. Drop your top 3 choices as of now for this weekend. For me, I'm between a Goldango Raging Bolt or Terror Box.
Wait, you're playing Goldango Raging Bolt? That's hot.
Goldango Raging Bolt with Terror Box. No. There's commas in there. So
for me, my top 3 is Terror Box, Archolodon Poison, and Gardevoir.
At this very moment in time, Dragapult, Archaludon, Raging Bolt.
All right,
Goldango's like a very close fourth.
So you'll either see us with that or with the secret deck that we as content creators know and you don't. Just kidding, that's not a thing. So anyone know of a secret deck they're thinking of? I don't have anything. No one's including me.
Ogerpon.
Oh, sorry, you're right. Yeah, we'll be all playing Sinistra Ogerpon. Yeah, that's. I think
see us at table 2,300.
I got static seating. I'm at table 2, brother. I don't know what you're talking about.
There's only 3,000 people here, but Parker's still at table 2,000, right? They're like, yeah, we just told him to go over there. He's been solitary Sinistra Ogerpon this whole time. Oh, jeez,
brother.
Anyways, I think we can transition real quick to our last segment, where I can try to remember the name. read the card. Read the card for Atlanta RTC for ATL. But before that, I want to give a quick shout out and thank you to Nakama Anime Cafe for supporting us here at the Beach Court Podcast. Again, it was great to see a bunch of y'all locals and also some out-of-towners drive in for our Atlanta practice tournament. It was great to do a cash tournament. There aren't too many of those in Northeast Florida, so glad that we were able to be a big part of providing some of those for you. And again, we're out at Nakama Anime Cafe every Wednesday for locals. We'll be there Wednesday before some of us drive first thing Thursday morning up to Atlanta. But, we're there every week, really just prepping, and a great community. All really been building each other up. We've been playing a lot for Atlanta, helping each other out, talking deck lists, meeting before, after, or different days of the week to practice. So definitely a great spot to show up. And other than that, another shout out want to make. I don't have the box near me because they haven't arrived yet. But FCBC Sleeves, I'm very excited, released their new Easter limited edition version, Periwinkle. So it's pretty close to any lilac enjoyer. So personally, I'm expecting the box from Brian any day now. So Eric Parker will get you all the latest sleeves, so you can be rocking some fresh
All right, I have
Periwinkle
to ask the
for
question.
Easter season here.
No, he
Yeah.
doesn't have your sleeves.
Yeah, that's fair.
Well, I have them. They're in the bag. I haven't seen you since you asked for them.
That's not true.
I have seen them multiple times. I asked for them. I'm bringing you the sleeves. Listen, listen. I like the sleeves, man. I don't want to let them go.
You
That's
should
just
just
Alright,
give
no,
them
but
to me
seriously,
instead.
What does periwinkle have to do with Easter? Because I don't know the answer to that.
no the Easter.
Like
It's
a
the Easter.
Easter
No, it's
egg
Easter branding.
color,
Yeah, it's like
like-
Easter branding
But
egg.
why
and
the name of Perry? What does that have to do with anything?
periwinkle? Dude, periwinkle's a fun color. Like, do you not
what's
enjoy the
a-
color
What's a
periwinkle?
goon to a goblin, bro?
Like, yeah. I mean, literally, like when I think periwinkle, I think back to like my joy in childhood watching Blue's Clues, where like periwinkle was like another little dog on the show.
Well, I think
Anyway,
of
shout out
periwinkle. This is
Periwinkle.
not correct. But like the moose. What was the moose's name?
From the moose from what?
There's like a moose that's like a winkle's in his name. Moose.
You're losing me.
Aw.
Moose Winkle. Shout out Moose Winkle anyway.
Yeah, Bullwinkle, bro. Bullwinkle.
Moose Van. Bullwinkle.
Bullwinkle. Rocky and the Bullwinkle or whatever. The Adventures of Rocky and Bullwinkle.
Should I just like tweet a picture of this from the Beach Quarter Pound and say like, if you know, you know?
Who is this moose?
The moose is on the loose. Oh gosh. All right.
Oh, we've gone down the rabbit hole and it's
Uh,
11:30 at night. Let's go to bed.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyways, but before we go to bed, y'all got to stay up because you got to stay practicing and you got to read the cards. So here's the cheat sheet. Listen, we know it's happened before. We all know that one person at your locals or at a regional who said, "Oh man, I lost because I didn't know that this card did this." Right? This is what this segment is about, and Eric is one of them. So read your
Okay.
cards, check your resistances, know all of the things, right? So really what we've done here is we've gathered a couple of cards that have seen some recent play that'll be in the round index. Maybe they'll be super popular, but it's a card that you could see that I think will mess you up if you aren't ready for it. And also there's some interactions around these cards as well that you might be very familiar with. We just want to make sure that you're fully aware of. So first of all, I want to talk about on our first segment for Read the Cards is if your opponent benches Meryl. Meryl. Oh, I remember that little guy. Peekaboo, right? Meryl?
Blue.
Peekaboo. It evolves into Azumarill.
Right.
Who knows what Azumarill from Surging Sparks does?
Does
I
230
do.
damage for 1 energy if you have a terror on the bench.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So Azumarill, single prizer, 120
Nailed it.
HP. Again, it does have double edge attack for 230 damage. Does deal 50 to itself for 4 psychic energies. But the gist is when you have a Terra Pokemon in play, it can use double edge for just a psychic energy. So 230 damage on a single prizer. Hidden pretty big relevant damage. Again, KO in its Terapagos, KO in Ogrepons, things like that. And again, you can also combo this with the Lily's Clefairy and your one-shot and Dragapult real quick. So this deck recently won an online tournament. So that's why we're kind of mentioning here. It plays Cornerstone Massive Ogrepon as that Terra inclusion. So again, making it a little bit harder to deal with it on the bench. I also even played like Pidgeot EX to act as a consistency engine. So a deck that is maybe a legitimate deck. It's honestly something that I would like to have sleeved up and played if it didn't win a tournament, just a couple days ago, because I'm already locked in for Elena. So it's a Azumarill from Surging Sparks. I know it's a card that Eric's wanted to make work for a while, so I think he's pretty happy to see with some success.
I love that card.
No,
That card's so underutilized.
for sure. Next one here is Eric's A-Spec choice to win the event in Atlanta, Pokevital A. Eric knows what this card does, but Parker, do you know what Pokevital A does? Or
Yeah.
A-Spec item?
Yeah, it heals 150 and it can't be put back in your deck or hand.
Okay, is the 150 relevant anywhere? Aren't we just in a one-shotting format?
It is relevant when you are using Cornerstone Ogrepon EX and your opponent is using Cornerstone Ogrepon EX and they demolish you first. Like, oh no, I have to turn my guy to keep it alive. Well, now you don't because you just Vital it, and that demolish goes away, and you win the Cornerstone Ogerpon EX trade.
Yeah, exactly that, right? I mean, wall decks have been including Pokevital A as their A specs. Again, they're playing a very heavy Arven build anyways, makes it easy to find, and it's really for that like Cornerstone interaction. A lot of these decks are playing the Cornerstone in order to have an answer to it. But again, if you're able to smack the Cornerstone first and they're able to heal it, then it's kind of like you didn't attack first at all because you're fully healing that 140 demolish damage from your own Cornerstone. So I think any strategy that you have for the weekend around dealing with walls, you want to try to avoid like a 2-hit KO situation when possible. If you don't have to lead it to a 2-hit KO, like try to utilize any other disruption with it. So even if it's saying, hey, you let them take a couple prizes. Okay, now you're going to go set up your Cornerstone, Iono, attack, right? Try to make it a situation where they miss the Pokevital and you're able to deal with the Cornerstone and get through it. So Eric's making funky faces. I'm not sure what he's
I was
doing.
like looking at the price chart of Pokevital. It was like 60 cents back in January, and now it's $1.
Let's see on. Yeah, I mean, it's still really not moving much.
Nah, the graph moved. What are you talking about, bro? That's like 100% increase.
I still see the one where it includes Card Market. So for some reason, like on release in Card Market, it was not a $9 card and a 91. Oh, sorry, it was a £9 card on August 2nd.
That's pretty heavy.
And then it was a 9. Yeah, and it was a
under
90 cent
TCG player under it says customers also purchased Dangerous Laser.
Yeah, someone's just buying their stuff.
Yeah, they're just master setting their Shadow Fable set.
So
neutralization zone for Efferig.
For Rigorash.
All right, another card I want to bring up here. Again, we mentioned it a little bit earlier as a Cornerstone out. We have Hopsization EX. So Eric played this card this weekend. So Parker, you're on the hook here. What does Hopsization EX do?
I am the hops enjoyer. Okay,
actually, you did play the card also, so this should be a freebie for either of you.
Yeah. So for one colorless, it does 30, and then 32 one of your benched, and then it does 3 steel and a colorless. Which, if you're playing the choice build, means it's only 3 steel. But I don't think Eric was, and I was not either. But it just sits for 240, and you can't use Brave Blade the next turn.
Yeah,
I think one of the biggest interactions with this card that people need to know about is the fact that like the actual hop stacks, or someone playing a hop stack, or what they can actually do. Like they can increase the damage of each attack by 90 maximum. So they can use the Stadium Postwick for 30. They can use the Snorlax on the bench for another 30, and then the hop span is another 30 damage. So, it goes up pretty fast. You hit 120 active, 30 to the bench, or in the case that I faced today, my Gardevoir was getting wrecked because the guy was hitting, 240 plus 120, 360s. So I was just getting wrecked. But yeah, I mean, it's pretty interesting, what the inclusions of the damage modifiers, what it can do.
Yeah, exactly. So anyone who's looking to play like play against an Archaludon deck who's like trying to utilize Cornerstone, is that out? We do see some of these Archaludon decks, including the Hopsization EX, as that Cornerstone out. The good news is they do have to play into it a little bit because you can, you have to bench it and put an energy on it because again, it takes 4 energy to attack. So unless you're using the Hop's Choice Band, you're going to need 2 turns to set it up. So, a lot of times,
Scramble switch of all the other
now we're cooking. You scramble switch and then scoop up Cyclone and then put it back and then Unfair Stamp, right?
No,
I think
we're so right.
Macaroni.
But in most cases, right, your opponent will be telegraphing this like Hopsization play a little bit. So again, if you're worried about that one-shotting your Cornerstone, try to maybe get on the aggressive with it, or if you can, like KO the baby Duraludons, so that way they can't set it up. Again, little strategies like that to try to give you a little survivability, or make sure that you start setting up someone on the bench to be able to respond.
I played it Saturday, like I don't know if the poison stuff is on your list, but I played it Saturday like against Zoroark. I was like using it to hit 30 on the Zoroark so that I could then KO the Zoroarks later.
Sounds pretty interesting.
All the math involved for sure. Next card I want to mention here is Perilous Jungle. So again, we should all be pretty familiar with this card. Does a little bit. I think most people are aware of it. It's kind of the replacement for like Radiant Sneasler. It's that extra poison damage modification. But there is an extra stipulation on the card. Eric, what is that extra stipulation on Perilous Jungle?
Yeah, the extra stipulation is it doesn't affect Dark-type Pokemon. So against, like a Zoroark deck, usually you can hit 290 pretty easily with the Binding Mochi and the poison. But it doesn't affect dark type Pokemon, so you can't poison you can't take extra damage when you poison them. So the most you can hit is 270, without Kieran, and yeah, it's actually annoying. And the more annoying part about it right now with how the interaction of the stadium works is you can no longer Badoo KO a 70 HP Pokemon with item lock because you just KO yourself because you don't have Sneasel on your bench, so you poison yourself, and then your Badoo takes 2 more damage, so your Badoo gets knocked out, and then you also lost the Mochi. So like the people that are playing the Badoo in these poison decks, like I don't really know how good it is because you're never doing any relevant damage with the Badoo. Those are kind of like some of the interactions I found this weekend that were kind of interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I've been in Conkeldurr has been one of my pet decks, and that played the Mochi combos with Badoo, and he played Radiant Sneasler, and I was very much enjoying saying, oh, I can just go hit big damage with Badoo, 70 KOs. And I was like, oh, I want to keep this around. Let me just put in like 3 copies of Perilous Jungle, and then try to do the same thing. Like, oh, wait, my Badoo died is after I poison and deal 70. So I'm trading. I'm giving them a prize for an item lock. So like, not really worth it, but again, this like non-dark poison is relevant. Again, your Petra, like, you know, your baby Petroth that's using it isn't affected, but also any other interactions against like Charizard, right? Like, you know, you're not poisoning them for extra damage. So just remember that extra part. Again, all these cards have words. Even Festival Grounds, we're not going to be talking about that one.
It can't KO Zard.
Yeah. I just kind of realized that as I was talking about
You
this.
can hit 340, but you can't.
Yeah, because it only takes, because again, Charizard EX being a Terra Pokemon is Dark type.
And you can't even 30-30 because it's Terra.
Yep. Yeah, you put 2 more. You put Perilous Jungle as it were. Put 2 more damage counters on each poisoned non-dark Pokemon, both yours and your opponents. So, everyone, be ready for those a little bit. Do you want to talk about a couple of new Pokemon that we're seeing play? We have Bayonet from Journey Together, and I know Eric has been talking about this card. But Parker, what does the Bayonet from Journey Together do? No one Spencer's a Shuppet. Should they be panicked or not?
I mean, so there's still the item locker from
Bayonet EX,
Scarlet and Violet, but I think this one it like shuffles 3 cards from your hand and your opponent's hand into their deck.
Exactly. Yeah. So the first attack, Cursed Words. Your opponent chooses 3 cards from their hand and shuffle those cards into their deck.
Speech.
Oh, again, wait, your opponent could choose any 3 cards. This is terrible. Could pick them.
Exactly, yeah, but with cards like Unfair Stamp or Xerosix Machinations, right, there are ways to go and manipulate that hand size down. Its second attack is Spooky Shot for a Psychic and a Colorless to deal 70 damage. So, you know, there is a potential, again, if you see Shuppet, maybe ready for some item lock or for some hand lock shenanigans, you know, something that can be pulled off. Again, not really sure how much play it'll see, but, you know, there has been some, you know, always a little bit of rumblings when a card like this comes out that has, like, such a powerful, like, hand control effect.
Could you imagine, like, Pidgeot Control playing that? That's probably the deck that could play it the best.
Maybe.
Yeah,
I feel
control.
like... Yeah, I feel like the thing, though, is, like, Pidgeot Control isn't... They don't win by, like, hand-locking you and then, like, prize trading, racing you. They're more so on, like, finding, like, trapping something or... You know, it's more so like, you know, getting that powerful threat where they can go penny loop like an Ursaluna for KOs and just like kind of sweep your board from there once you're like can't deal enough damage to knock things out.
Right.
Again, there might be a deck that can utilize this. So you see Shuppet, you're thinking item lock or hand lock. Either way, start crying. No, I don't know. Probably not. Yeah. Just think about it. Think about a line. Figure out a way out of it. This next card is one that Eric asked me to put on the list. So I'm curious if he actually did his homework on what this card does or not. We're going Blaziken EX from Journey Together. Eric, you got anything?
I know it's ability where you can like attach a fire from your discard pile to one of your Pokemon. Or is it just a basic energy card? It's one of the two.
You're the one telling us.
I have no clue what its attack is.
So Blaziken EX
again, 3 for 200.
Yes. Actually, it's Blaziken EX, 320 HP. Seething Spirit is its ability. Once during your turn, you may attach a basic energy card from your discard pile to one of your Pokemon. So actually, any energy. So kind of a return of Dynamotor, but it can be any energy. And actually, it's not even benched Pokemon, so it can go to the active as well. I've seen this in inclusion in like some like Mamoswine decks, other Stage 2 decks looking to set things up and have some energy continuity. And its attack Smolder Salt for a fire and a colorless. Only 2 energy required. Hits 200 damage.
Oh.
So pretty solid choice. I've seen some decks that you're playing like a Mammoth Swine or some other energy types. You include that fire since you quickly like accelerate it to itself. Hitting some relevant weakness. I think at 320 HP, it's just kind of an awkward number to deal with. Yeah, exactly. So we do see Wellspring Ogrepon in the format, but there aren't really any other water types that are hitting like a relevant weakness on it.
Radiant Greninja. Oh wait.
Rest in peace.
Pow.
I said relevant Pokemon, not Chen Pao. Unfortunate.
Speaking of Chen Pao, I know it's not on your list. What does the Chen Pao do?
That would be the one that came out like 2 sets ago.
Surging Sparks.
Surging Sparks.
Yeah, Snow. It's like the ability is like Snow Rink or something. When play from your hand to your bench, you may discard a stadium.
We had one deck playing that today in their deck. You want to guess what deck it was?
Pidgeot or a Grand Tree build?
It was Raging Bolt. So that he can get rid of all the 2 prize liabilities and then just...
I mean, in areas you're like that's kind of smart. Well, because also, again, like you can just remove the Chen Pao from the bench as well, right? So you can just go and say, I'm going to go clear up my Noctowls, clear my Squawk, all that stuff.
Yeah, like, so he did it and then Crown Opal against the opponent's Raging Bolt.
Oh, brother. Now we're cooking. Want to hit you
Nick.
Want to hit with a couple tools. I've seen some play. Again, Bravery Charm is on the list here. And again, we should all know what Bravery Charm does, plus 50 HP. But where is that 50 HP most relevant in this world heading into Atlanta?
Yeah, I mean it's Dusclops. It's mostly for Water Pond, right? So any of your 70 HP guys, if you're an evolution deck, you could include, to tech for Terra Box and even Dragon Ball also. You can include charms in your deck. And if you charm your active Pokemon, you're now forcing Terra Box to find a way to get around that active Pokemon so that they can, then take 2 prizes. Because otherwise, the Terra Box from Wellspring Ogrepon only hits 100 damage to the active, but it does do 120 to the bench. So if you're trying to charm someone on the bench, it just doesn't make sense because then 70 plus 50 is 120. They'll just KO it anyways. You can even in some situations you can charm your Fez when your opponent can't hit more than 210, 220, right? So there's certain things like that you can do. It's Archetypes, right? Like where they hit 220 or don't have poison packages. So that's where the charms are mostly relevant in the current format.
Yeah, I think the big thing, anything you can do to again, in that when you're in an evolution deck or, you're able to make your active Pokemon over 100 HP, right? Even if you play Monkey Dory, lead a Monkey Dory, they can't KO that, right? Anything to get over that 100 HP, like a Bravery Charm for the active. Those are all little inclusions that you can do to help, make things a little bit harder for your Terra Box opponent to get things rolling. I think I mentioned it before, but the Tropicos bulky decks are playing a Bravery Charm, so the magic number there to KO a Tropicos is 340, right? It deal 340 raw damage to KO, and that's a lot of damage. So
and you can't just Monkey Dory 30, let it sit there because they're gonna Monkey Dory back.
yeah, exactly, yeah. So the decks that are designed to tank are also designed to heal things off. So just be careful of that. So next part here is a Survival Brace. So another pink card. Again, we think we should all know what the pink cards do. But Parker, what does Survival Brace do?
It turns your guy into a Terra Pikachu.
Basically, right?
Yeah, so basically if you would be knocked out at full health, you will have 10 HP remaining.
Exactly.
Instead.
Yeah, so Survival Brace, that one-hit KO protection, after the effect is used, you do discard the card, so it's only a one-time use, but you do stay alive with that 10 HP. Really, the reason we're mentioning this card is because it's seen a little bit of buzz online. Piper Lapine put out a YouTube video, and it's been kind of getting some talk on Twitter, things like that, about a Dragapult list with Survival Brace. So everyone's playing their Clefairies, or Raging Bolts, or Goldangos, or other ways to blow it up, and you say, hey, what's better than being able to power up a second Dragapult? It's letting my first one survive in the first place. So
yeah.
So again, I think a lot of these decks aren't really, again, with so little tool removal in the format. We lost Vacuum. Really, the only way is you kind of need to play, I guess, Ruffian as your supporter or play a jamming tower. I think that Survival Brace pretty hot inclusion. I wouldn't be surprised if a couple players picked this up and made a good little run with it.
You guys want to guess how many views that video has right now?
2,000.
100.
I'm gonna give you the over under 6,000.
Under.
Parker?
Under.
7.4 thousand views in 2
Ooh.
days.
Yeah,
That's like that's like 10 times the number of people going to actually no,
And
that's
to
like
be
that's
clear,
like
this is
that's
a new channel, right? So like
yeah.
for videos like this to get that many views on a new channel on YouTube algorithm is
Yep.
very difficult.
Yeah. A lot of shares, a lot of, tweeting people talking about it.
Man,
So-
if only we had won 2 regionals and then made some innovative card choice in our deck.
Yeah. Give us a few years, we'll get there. So Parker, you need to win 2 more so we can catch up with Piper. So
Yeah. Okay.
All right. Last few ones I want to talk about. Crispin. Again, everyone should know what Crispin does. Again, every deck's playing like 2
It
or 3 of
accelerates
them.
2 energy, right?
Well,
No.
Yeah. So the key part we're going to talk about here is the wording of Crispin. So when you read the card, again, the segment is called Read the Card. Search deck for 2 basic energies of different types. Great. We all know that part. Reveal them. Great. And put one of them into your hand. Okay, cool. Attach the other to one of your Pokemon. So the interaction here is the way it's worded is first energy goes to your hand, second energy is attached. So if you play Crispin for what and you'll find 1 energy in your deck, what happens?
It
You
goes to your
played
hand.
Energy Search as your supporter for turn.
Exactly. You played Energy Search as your supporter. You played Colress's Tenacity and didn't grab a tool or a special energy. You just grabbed a regular old Energy Search from your hand. So, it's different.
What do you mean? I can just attach 2 energies, right?
Yeah,
What?
again, it's not how it works, right? The Crispin effect searches energy first, and then if you have a second one, then you can attach it, right? So again, as we're playing this deck out, and again, things are always different when it's over the table versus online or when these interactions don't happen too much. But again, best practice, when I play Crispin, I try to say, hey, I'm grabbing these 2 energies, I'm putting this one into my hand, I'm attaching this one to the Pokemon. So make sure you check and make sure you have the right energies. If you only have 1 energy type in your deck, you can't accelerate energy with Crispin. It's just an energy search.
Also, I have to do the. I have to say this because I saw it so much today. Terrorbox players, when you Crispin, and you're not doing any actions right after that, please, for the love of God, do not shuffle your deck before you torrential pump me when you're going to shuffle your energies back in the deck.
You also listen, you also don't have to think about which energies you are
Correct.
attaching.
It also doesn't matter what energies.
Not only
That's what all you're
you
doing.
have to pick the energies that reveal the lowest amount of information to your opponent. So if you play,
Okay.
so don't put the fighting one on because then they know you play Cornerstone.
Okay, sure. All right, you can put any other color energy attached to your Ogrepon.
If your lightning energy in the discard already, don't put the metal on because then maybe they'll think you can't attack with Pikachu.
Oh my god, Alex.
The other piece I'm seeing is that, again, people just treat this Crispin like it's an attached to.
Correct.
Again, so many of these decks just play a
that's-
Teal Dance. Like, they play Ogrepon, so, like, a lot of times you can go and, like, grab a grass energy and, like, Teal Dance and then attach a different energy from your hand, right? Like, if you play
do
this in Raging
shuffle
Bolt.
when you do that.
Yeah, do shuffle when you do that, yeah. But by the time I see Raging Bolt players just go grab, like, the Fighting and the Lightning, and they know for sure that they have a Fighting or Lightning in their hand, and they don't have a grass. I'm like, just grab the grass, Teal Dance, and like attach, right? We have more things we can do, right? Use all of the brain here, right?
Yes.
Use the full effect of the energy search.
Use at least 10%.
All right, and last cards we're gonna do this
There's
segment.
more?
The last 2. This segment is called the We Have Tempting Trap Mawile at Home
Oh.
segment. So brand new card from Journey Together, Maractus. What does Maractus do, gentlemen?
Maractus has attack called Corner, and it does 20 damage, says you can't retreat. And it also has an ability that if you knock it out by damage, you put six damage counters on the active Pokemon.
Yeah, nailed it. 110 HP,
Boom!
2 retreat cost. But again, there is one other piece, and that is that Maractus is a grass type. So you're dealing 20 damage. The problem with retreat lock right now with Sob and Wellspring Ogrepon is you're a 2 prizer in the active, hitting 20 damage, and also you always KO over whatever you're trapping. So you're eventually just going to KO them with, hitting for Sob over, 20 damage every turn. Maractus being a grass type, some Pokemon are resistant to grass. So there are some interactions where you can strand a Goldango,
True.
you can
True.
strand a Duraludon or an Archaludon without any energy on it. Different things like that where you can infinitely trap that. So be careful of some
True.
scenarios like that. And the other guest here is Parker. What does Knackley do from Paradox Rift?
If I'm not mistaken, it's one fighting for 10 and also no retreat.
Yeah, exactly. So there's
What's the name of the attack, bud?
Um, I don't know. Suck
It-
my.
anyways, the attack is also called Corner.
Oh,
So
okay.
again,
Come on, bro. That was a
fight-
layup.
yeah, one fighting energy for 10 damage. Corner, perverter your attack turn. The defending Pokemon cannot retreat. Again, 10 damage. You'll eventually KO them. Oh, it's just on the still 7 HP, dude. The name of the game is Resistance, right? A lot of Pokemon resist fighting. Most notably, oh man, I don't want to play Switch cards. Let me just play Latias EX. You know what? Latias EX resists fighting. If your opponent goes counter catcher your Latias and corners it with Nasil, you are never moving again. You are stuck forever. And we know you don't play Psychic Energy, so you're not attacking with Latias either. So
Terrorbox plays Psychic.
Airbox plays Psychic.
well, but no, they only play one. They're not there. Or some
I
play
thought they
two.
played 2.
They
I think some
play
play. I think
two,
some play
bro.
two. Yeah, Torque
Yeah,
played two.
you're getting
Sorry,
Sonic
Torque,
whatever
Torque
that's
played
called.
two, but
Sorry, Blade.
But a lot of other decks that are playing Latias are not playing Psychic. So again, if you see that control-y type deck that plays a fighting energy, remember, fear the rock salt Pokemon.
If you see a
Exactly.
Pidgeot in your opponent's deck, it's probably Pidgeot control because ain't nobody playing Pidgeot.
Yeah. Even Pidgeot controls aren't playing Pidgeot. They're playing Walls or Feraligatr, right? I mean, like,
Yeah.
All right,
so-
let's wrap this up, man.
Yeah,
We
yeah,
gotta
so-
get to bed.
yeah. So that's
Well-
that's our cards. Read the cards again. Just want you to be aware that a few of these cards exist. Don't come up to us at the tournament and be like, "Oh my gosh, I didn't know what the Maractus did, and he did it, and he trapped me with it forever." I said, "Read the cards.
Read the card.
Read the cards.
Read
Read
the
the cards.
card.
Your opponent mulligans and you don't know what a card does, you can say, "Hold on 1 second. Let me read that card real quick." Read the cards and have fun and
Have a good
go
time.
go kill it at Atlanta.
All right, guys. Well, we'll see you in Atlanta. That's gonna do it for this episode. How long get the content here? Hope you enjoyed it. If you did, press a like, subscribe, comment, all that stuff. But till next time, we'll see you in Atlanta.
See ya.